so I'm thinking the roof's about 13. And I think that because of the timing of the hurricanes and the way it feels. So, you know, you probably have 4 to 6 years, I'm thinking, on it before you have to worry about replacing it. Like, have that in your mind.
Right.
And then recognize insurance companies, they go by numerical years. So as it gets up there, they may just send you a letter recommending, quote unquote, that you replace it.
Right.
It doesn't seem to be leaking now. There was a history of leaking at multiple locations. You can see garage ceiling, you can see around the fireplace, things like that. Right now, I think you're clear. Roof maintenance is the key. Have somebody go up there maybe once a year, every 6 months.
Right.
See what they see. Get somebody that's really good at roofs, and don't go up there yourself unless you're really sure, because it's very steep and the granulars are loose and it's very hard to get your footing.
Okay.
I could see anybody going up there sliding down just as fast, because it was a little bit nerve-wracking to go up. You got to go up in the valley so that you have some stability.
Right.
The roof deck and everything inside looked pretty decent in the attic. It was there that I noticed the pipes. The whole house was replumbed. I think that was in 1995 because there was a permit for that, so we know that was the year.
Okay.
The pipes don't look bad. It's just the fact that they're the polybutylene pipes, that's all. They had a lawsuit against them in '96, and the consumers won that lawsuit. They set aside a consumer recovery fund that lasted to 2009. After 2009, when that expired, then it became the homeowner's responsibility if something should occur, which then became the insurance companies, which is why, you know, they don't like to pay out any claims. So they're very reluctant to insure it, or they charge more. So I'm thinking that in the short term, you guys will work that out, but that's probably a replacement at some point in the near future.
Okay.
Structurally, it doesn't look like there's any visible damage, but there is a lot of evidence of neglect with the wood rot in different places. You'd want to get a grip on that. It's a wood building. Nothing wrong with a wood building as long as you keep your termite bond up and you maintain it right. Okay, it doesn't look like it's falling down, and there's no evidence of any real structural movement that I can see, especially when you look around the foundation, because it is a concrete block foundation. You can see some areas of it. Back to the plumbing on the outside, I did notice there's some leaking going on. The back hose bib leaks. You take that little gadget off that they got on there, and the bib is leaking.
Okay.
And then it also leaks at the front above the main water valve too, where you got water going on there right now. You probably would want to get those fixed, but if you're going to fix them, if you're planning to replumb, they're going to do that anyway. So it depends on your timing. If you're not going to do it for a while, then you should fix it now. If you're getting it scheduled, then you should get it done when the time is, when the time. Air condition is really good news. That one's from '09. It's heating and cooling just fine. There's evidence of condensation problems at that air handler unit, but I have a little bit of activity with condensation now, but that seems like a small repair. The bigger stuff that you see, the stains, probably came from the last unit.
Okay.
So cooling and heating just fine. It's about 8 years old, so it's probably halfway through its life. Okay. And then electrical, you know the story on the electrical. I mean, the equipment is good. The wiring I can see is good. I do have a couple outlets that are wired wrong. I'll itemize them for you, where they just cross the neutral and hot wires.
Gotcha.
That happens a lot. But most of what I see looks good. I have a feeling when we look in that other panel, if no one's been in there, it's probably going to look the same as it did when it was built. The reason I say that is there's been very few modifications on the electrical that I can tell. You know that by going into the attic space. There's no obvious wiring anywhere.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So I'm encouraged about what we're probably going to see when we get out here again. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. Windows are above average. They're double pane windows at a time when they were mostly using single pane windows, so that's a good thing. So that tells you that you're insulated good. Also, it's good from the perspective of sun penetration.
Okay.
So that's good too. 2 panes of glass. Some of them are hard to open. Like this one over here, the track is bent. I couldn't really mess with the other one. I couldn't get open. This one in that room I couldn't get open. So when you go to open them, keep a little screwdriver on hand, because those latches, sometimes if you put a little screwdriver in, you can pop them.
Right.
It's par for the course. It was a flaw in the design, I guess. The appliances all work with the exception of the disposal. I didn't know if they were staying or going, so we checked them.
Right.
And dishwasher, you can see, is finishing up probably just a few. And that's it.
Okay. Or I know earlier you mentioned that the water heater was super old and that may have been leaking or something.
You said super old, and then I came to the conclusion that I am super old, and I realized it was old, it's like you said. But yeah, It's 1998. It's heating the water just fine now, but it's gonna be 19 years old, so
Right. What's the average life for those?
15 to 18, 15
Okay.
to 20. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it can go either way.
Right.
I was at one in Haines City, and we had a water heater from 1978, still working there.
Okay.
It's hard to predict.
Right. But
Like-
there's no issue with it right now with it leaking or anything?
No leaking. No.
Okay.
No leaking at all. Installation is questionable.
Mhm.
You know, there's a couple of things in the report that you'll see.
Okay.
That they should have put a pan there. That support system's a little bit unique, but it seems to work.
Mhm.
Things like that.
Okay. You have any questions?
I do not.
Renee will ask them later.
Yeah.
I'll get a phone
I'll
call.
usually read the report and then see.
I think that's about it.
That's it? Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Paul.
I do. Now don't, when you read this, have a drink first. Because there's a lot of information, and it's
Yeah.
a house, and it's new, and your gut's gonna be a little, you know, like the feeling you get.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do, but most of it seems manageable to me.
Okay.
Seems like it could be a really good house for the right person.
Okay. That's always good to hear.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome.